We're in. Okay.
Yay. So you've got nothing.
I've got nothing.
I have two things. One, I want to surprise you with because I'm curious your take on it. Oddly enough, from a publication I don't ever read. They're both of my things that I brought are from the Wall Street Journal.
Okay.
And I never read those. The first one was that
the yoga.
Yes, I kind of love that. And I'm a little bit disappointed that it wasn't one of us that came up with it, that it was a major publication. But that one, which I thought was actually kind of, okay, yes, we can talk about it more. And I know it's tongue in cheek and isn't this funny, but I thought, we always talk about drinking games with these kind of things. I thought this was kind of the more truth said in jest. So I loved that.
Okay. I don't have a subscription to the Wall Street Journal, so I can't see it the whole
No way. I don't either. Let me send you my link and see if this works.
I clicked on your link. Isn't that weird?
Let me send you a different one. Try this one. I don't have a subscription either, so it should work.
It just says to read the full story, subscribe or sign in. I guess maybe I can have a sign in.
No, I didn't do either.
It's weird.
I just try clicking on this link I just sent you, because if that doesn't work for you, it might not work for other people. It doesn't work.
No.
Interesting, because I don't have a subscription either.
But maybe you signed in once on, you know what? It's just a Facebook sign in. They just want to know who I am, I think.
Oh, it is? Okay. Yeah. I don't think I signed in, but.
Take me to Wall Street Journal. Okay, let me see. Oh, this is like taking me down a rabbit hole. I'm like,
it is. Yeah, I definitely did not sign in. I for some reason, I'm not a huge fan of the Wall Street Journal, which is not important to get into. But yeah, I wouldn't have given them any of my things. I wonder why I can get it.
Yeah, I can't see. You know what? Somebody else posted it. I just saw them posting it on Facebook.
Okay, and see if you can read that, or like someone that shared it. Like
I'm wondering, if it's coming in through like a social media site. They let people go. Let's see. Yeah, now I can see it. Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, perfect.
That's really interesting.
Oh, good. And then the other one is super interesting as well, because it's one of those where I read it and I was like, oh yeah, I do not do that. But then the more I thought about it, I thought, oh, maybe that's a good idea. And maybe it's a great idea for adults to do to each other, not just parents to kids. So the other one's kind of interesting as well.
Okay, so you can bring that one. I'll just do an update. I have been well, I could tell you when we're live if you want. As an intro, I went to yoga this morning, things like that. So I'm closing one of my bajillion windows.
I swear, every time my computer boots up, I'm shocked. I'm like, it feels so old.
Oh, I know. My computer's not that old, but I'm on it so much less now, and I have to say it's free to not be on. Okay. All right.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right, so we're episode 35.
And pop goes the LaCroix.
Nice.
They need to sponsor us.
You need to sponsor. I have my water from lunch. Mission Barbecue. That's right.
I've never heard of it. Okay, I'm good to go.
They're big around here. They're like
I've never heard of it.
It's like a chain barbecue place. So they do like smoked turkey and brisket, and it's like the new fast food. You know what I mean? Like just protein sources. Basically, it's nice. Yeah, it's just protein. Nothing's on a bun. It's nice. All right, ready? I'll bring us in. I will bring us in.
I am ready.
All right, here we go. All right. Welcome to the wycwyc podcast, episode 35. Ronnie here.
And Carla here in Austin.
I know. I'm in Maryland. Now, last week it was chilly, right? Did we talk about that? Did you ask how the weather was?
It is still sweltering here.
It is sweltering here.
It is.
It's like, I swear it's like at least 80 degrees. I think we're breaking heat records
at least
right
80.
Now.
I was saying to the child this morning on the way to school, oh my gosh, it's going to be so cool tomorrow. And she got so excited because she has a new down jacket. She goes, I'm wearing my jacket. I was like, oh, it's going to be 82.
Not that cool.
I know. I'm like, the high is 82, not 97.
Well, we're having a little bit of a heat. I mean, normally at this point, we're middle of October. We're starting to enter our like fall cool nights, like nice.
Because I remember wearing jackets with my Halloween costume growing up.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Every
Like
year.
I always feel bad. Like I'm actually really excited about my 5-year-old's Halloween costume because it's basically a giant hoodie, so I didn't have to worry about like putting a coat on over his costume. But yeah, no, right now we are breaking records, and it's in like. I believe like the forecasting in like mid 70s, but it feels like it's in the 80s. And normally I'm game. Like I keep it as hot as possible, but even I am over it. I'm like, I want my fall. I want to drink hot cocoa. I want to put my fireplace on. I want to wear a hoodie. I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt, and it's October.
I am so ready for fall as well, because I feel like we've hidden inside for 6 months because it's been so hot. Unless you're out at 6 a.m, I'm like, I'm ready to play outdoors.
Yeah, I just want it to be. I mean, I go to the gym at 6, 5:45, whatever, and it's cool. And I'm like, oh, this is nice. And then by lunch, I'm dying again. I'm like, and I refuse to put my air back on because I'm one of those thermostat czars.
I know. It's so funny because I'm so cheap, but well, like we talked about, not during the day. Like I will sweat working from home. I don't care. I'm too cheap for that. But at night, man, I need that thing on.
I did bump.
Down, or I don't sleep.
The 11-year-old came in his room. Was like, Mom, it's so hot. And I was like, all right, I'll put the air on for like an hour just to take the nip out, the heat out of the humidity out basically. And then, so that's what I did. So I say I won't put the air on. Then I'm a big pushover.
Oh, I am all about the sleep. Like I don't mind as much during the day, but I turn it down and I just see that my husband's face drop. I'm like, whatever. I'm really good to me with the sleep.
I control it. It's definitely and it's funny because I remember laughing at my mom who would never let us like turn up the heat or turn down and she's like,
I don't think I knew it was an option. I know. Did you know? Like, I don't know. And this is a deliberate thing. I didn't know where the thing was. I mean, we were not allowed to touch that.
I did. I'm pretty sure I was one of those kids that like touched it when she wasn't around and put it back before she came home from work. Totally did that. I was a sneaky child.
See, and I would want to do that now when I go visit my parents. They always have it super hot, and I just keep nudging it down.
My parents' house is really old, so it's very cold in there all the time. It feels musty and cold because it's an old house. Like it has like drafts and
yes.
So even when it's summertime, it's like a cave in there. So it feels it's cold. So they're actually, I don't touch the thermostat there. I generally make sure I'm always under a blanket.
I know. I do think I've raised my child the same way that she would never, I don't think she really understands how to mess with it, but she wouldn't mess with it. Yeah.
I don't know if my kids would. Being how sneaky I was, I'm just assuming that they mess with it and know how to. I'm not gonna be one of those parents that go, no, not my kids.
I am crazy about the lights out, all that stuff, but not the AC. So tell me, what's going on with you? Have you been doing yoga? I got to tell you really quick.
Yeah.
I have found my accountability. It's not really a partner, but I thought I'm super into my yoga practice. I'm at that place we all know, whether it's weight loss or whatever your goal is, where I think I will never stop this. I mean, I have this down pat. And then of course, invariably something happens, life happens, and we stop it. And then we look back and think, why did I think I was never going to stop that?
Yes.
So I'm doing what you and I never do, but I pitch them on my working for free, running their Twitter account in exchange for classes. Because I thought, you know what? I still have to do that Twitter account, whether I go to classes or not. So I better go. And I thought this is the perfect motivation for me. I haven't lost my mojo yet. I don't enjoy working for free, but this is something that I would pay for out of pocket.
Well, you're bartering. Like, so this is the studio that's awesome.
Yes, I'm so excited because I thought if I ever start to wane, I still have to keep up my end of the bargain. I will never wane. So I'm really excited. I came up with that accountability system before I dropped the habit. So I was really excited.
Nice. That's awesome. That's really cool. I mean, sometimes I was doing that for a while after I left officially managing my CrossFit gym. I moved to more of I'm still going to help you guys with social media, blah, 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 and not pay a membership. But I kind of let that die out this past month. So, cause I was like, you know what? I don't want the responsibility of it. Like it wasn't weighing. I felt like I was putting more work in than I was getting in exchange for class. You know what I mean? Like I was like,
I do. I definitely say I will do this one account for you because I thought there's nothing worse than, and this is who I am. I'm so grateful to be 47 because at 27, I wouldn't have looked into the future with this because I take over too many accounts. It's too much work. I start resenting it. And here's this place I used to go for calm and zen. And now when I walk in, I think, I'm so mad at you guys. So I thought I'm going to set myself up for success because you're right. It can become really time consuming.
It can become cumbersome. And then yes, your mentality change. You don't want to this is what happened to me. honestly, because everyone thinks, oh, it would be great if I worked at a gym or if my hobby was my career.
I know. I learned that one the hard
Yes,
way.
but then when you start to so when I started working at the gym, then I lost my outlet, and then so it becomes work and not an outlet, and that's kind of what happened to me. And then I didn't like it, and I'm still kind of recovering from that in a weird way. Like it's still not the same because I think I've had my hand in management of it now, and now there's more like drama, or I'm kind of privy to things that I don't want to be privy. I just want to show up and have someone tell me, pick the weight up and put it back down, and your form looks great. And I'm like, give them the thumbs up and go home, and then feel like I got my sweat on and I didn't have any overhead. I don't want the overhead. And that's one of those things I think people don't, it sounds great on paper. Like, oh, it would be awesome if I'm really into fitness and I really like this and I should become a trainer. But then all of a sudden you're like, you lost what was so great about it for you, you know?
And I always wanted to leave. Like when I owned my own little boutique studio, I'm like, oh, this is great. I work at, let's say 6 until 4 in the afternoon. I'll just lift right after. I'll be home by 5. And then by the time 4 came around, I would think, I am so sick. Yes. And I lifted markedly less. So yes, I wanted to set myself up for success, but also have the accountability. And as you said, I thought by running this one platform, which is very simple and not something they're super emotionally attached to, that there will never be the I'm coming in for a reflective meditation class and they grab me and say, oh, by the way, let's talk. No. So
right.
Keep
I'm here to work out. Right.
Yes, but create accountability. So I'm so excited about that.
That's awesome. I don't really have any news. So I do have some. So I have run every day since our last podcast, except for one day because I actually had to travel back to New York for a funeral. And I had a lot of, it was basically, I left Sunday night at like 8:30 p.m. and I got there at like 1 a.m. Woke up the next day, had breakfast, went to the services, spent the day with my family, the whole 9 yards, and then got back on the road at like 7 p.m. the next day and got home at like 11. Yeah. So it was just that 24-hour, like, let's jam as much as you possibly can in this 24 hour. And I had a small, like, oh, maybe I'll bring running shoes and run. And I was like, you know what? No, this is fine. But I did run at least a mile. I ran a mile today to the gym, and then I took yoga this morning, which is great.
Okay. I love what you said, to go back to the funeral thing. I think that's when, for me, I know something's become a habit and I'm not clinging to it this sounds like the wrong word, but it feels like the right word for me, like fear-based way, because you're okay. You trust yourself. You build up that trust in, I'm not going to bring my running shoes. I will run when I get home, even if I miss this day. And there's that level of trusting yourself.
I do trust so that's why it wasn't like I better not lose my streak or I'll never do this again. Yes. I was kind of like, I thought, you know what? No, I'm going to get in late. I'm not going to put any pressure on myself. And I was staying with this was the cool thing. I was staying with one of my mom's high school friends because my mom is from Long Island. And so that was it was kind of neat. And she stayed when I got there at 1, then we stayed up till like 2:30 in the morning talking like old friends, even though she's a friend of my mom, but it was kind of a neat perspective. And she knew like things about my family. And so it was like almost talking to like an aunt I didn't know I had, like, which is kind of cool. But then I woke up at 8:10. Which for me is like, it's like sleep until noon. Like I was like, I looked at my phone. I was like, holy crap, is that an 8? That's an 8.
I would think this has got to be wrong. My iPhone is broken.
Yes. And that was why I didn't want to bring my running shoes. Cause I was like, I didn't want to because then at that point I woke up, I only had 2 hours before I had to go to the services. So then I was like, I don't want to rush. So I got dressed up and then I had breakfast with them and then I got on the road. So I was like, I don't want to squish this in. But yes, then when I came home on Tuesday, I ran like the next morning. So that's today? Is that today? Is today Tuesday?
Wednesday.
Today's Wednesday.
No, I've been thinking it's Tuesday as well.
Yeah, I love it.
And what you say, I know I'm overthinking this, but I'm thinking about it with the backdrop of so many things I'm trying to make into habits that I know for so long I kept saying I'm going to do this one project in my life that I still haven't started, or get back into the yoga. And I kept letting myself down. So I lost faith in myself, because what's the best predictor of future behavior? Past behavior. And I'd let myself down so many times in the past. And with you and the running, it's like, I love that, because I'm not going to run. What are the chances I'm going to maintain this habit? pretty good because I have a really good track record of maintaining habits.
Yeah, in a weird way, I think, because I did a half marathon in, I think it was April or March. It was in the
Feels
spring
like
sometime.
yesterday.
I know, which does feel, and then I really didn't run at all after that. I kind of took a break. So even if you figure, like, let's say it's April, May, June, July, August, September, 5 months. I basically took a 5-month hiatus from running, and now I'm easing back into it. And I don't, like, a few weeks ago we were talking, I was like, I don't know, maybe it's something I have to move on from, and it's not. But now I'm kind of like getting the bug again, because instead of making all these promises to myself, like, I'm going to run a mile every day, or I'm going to run 5K every Sunday, or whatever. I just kind of eased back into it, doing it when it made sense without giving myself that extra, like, pressure of having some kind of schedule or training runs I'm going to do, or an event that I'm running for. And now, naturally, my bug for running is kind of slowly making its way back on its own. And then that's kind of proof to me that I kind of have to truly live very wycwyc and trust myself.
I know.
That maybe
and
I just needed a break. Like, maybe I really just needed that break.
And yes, I mean, I get those moments of schedule wondering. I was texting with a friend and she said, oh, I have to sub for class this morning, got to run. I said, oh, that's great. That'll be your workout. And she was very taken aback. She's like, no, my workouts are Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. And she went into this whole big long explanation. And I thought, maybe I should have that. Maybe I should set myself up on a workout routine. And then I thought, no, it's not me. I get up each day. And in the morning, I look at, what do I have going on? What is due? What are my obligations to the family? Where can I fit something in? And that really works for me. It doesn't stress me out. It would stress me out. And that's why I think I failed myself when I committed in May to do yoga throughout the summer and never went, because I put in my iPhone, and this would work for some clients of mine. I put Tuesday, Thursday. I thought I was setting myself up for success twice a week. I put in 2 classes that technically I should have been able to make work every single week. And I set them up as reminders for the entire summer. Each time they went off, I was like, yeah, whatever, not doing that. And just turned it off, because I just need to do what I can, when I can, look at my schedule each morning and figure out, where does some movement go?
Yeah. Well, actually, you're right. Because I looked at the yoga schedule that I share, because I'm trying to go more. And it was like, oh, I could always go Sunday. So I'm kind of always doing Sunday morning. And I do like that one in my schedule, because that's
how I understand it.
I'm like a halfway mark, right? But then the other one, like this morning, I took a class, and I haven't been able to make that class for the last 3 weeks because I had a project and I was programming, and I only have but so many hours that I can actually get, like, technical work done when the kids are away.
Yes.
I can't take an hour out of my day when they're not around, because I needed that day to devote to the client. So, but this morning I wrapped that project up on Friday. So this morning I was like, hey, I could hit this class. Yeah. And if I didn't keep that, like, fluidity, like that flexibility, then I'm like, oh, it's not Tuesday at 5 p.m. So I guess I'm not going to yoga.
I laughed that for a whole summer. I turned off I didn't delete them, but each time they went off, I was like, yeah, Carla is not going to yoga. Oh, there I am. Third person. It's like, I'm not going to yoga. But speaking of yoga, I really want to share this article I found yesterday. We're hoping to get this out today. Yes, on Wednesday. But even if we don't, it's interesting to look at if you missed tonight's debate. It's from the Wall Street Journal, and it actually surprised me that none of our healthy living blogger people came up with this. I thought it was brilliant. And the title of the article is "Forget Drinking Games. The Final Presidential Debate Calls for Yoga." And I love this for so many reasons. I think the drinking games ones are kind of funny, but I don't really drink, so I never really look at them. And I am one, and we don't get political on the podcast, who has found lots of anxiety from this presidential debate. I used to laugh at people that said this, and I find that my 10, almost 11-year-old has all this anxiety about one of the candidates because the kids are talking about it at school. So I thought this was hilarious. Instead of, like with some of the drinking games, if Trump said the word bigly or big league, as he says it is now, you are supposed to drink, and this flips it all around. Every time they use certain words, locker room talk, the secret speech, you do different yoga poses, and they're all linked in the article. There's not really much to discuss or talk about, but I thought it was super funny, really cute article.
I'm looking through it right now. I like this.
The anguished elephant pose.
Yes.
It was really creative, and it was really creative.
This one's funny. The big deduction, which I think basically is Cobra. Lie face down with your legs side by side. Place your forearms on the floor parallel. But then it says in the hold this position for as long as it takes to explain all the perfectly legal ways to rack up millions of dollars of tax deduction, or until your arms give out.
I love this. It really made me laugh. And I thought during this season, there's still plenty of weeks left until the election. It just cracked me up.
Yeah, no, this is great. Yeah, I'm hoping we can share it. So, because we did have that problem with me logging on, but it's on the Wall Street Journal. And if you click on it from social media, it seems to open up. But then other times it asks you for a password.
Yes, it didn't ask me for a password. You're right. So hopefully that'll work. But it's a really cute article.
Yeah, no, it's very cute. I like the idea of doing, we always think of like the drinking game thing. And I don't know, I went to college, I played a lot of drinking games.
Or the vigorous workouts like we talk about so often in our book. During a commercial, do
like hold the wall sit or
things that are a little bit more active. I tend to think like jump rope during the commercial breaks, or my daughter won one of those jump sport trampolines. She loves that. She will jump during the whole show, but we could jump during the commercial breaks. For some reason, I think evening 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock is late for Carla, but I like that this is just slow yoga. I thought it was really cute.
Yeah. By the way, I do have I also have a trampoline, like one of those little personal. Yeah, we have it for a really long time. I kept it in the basement, and then I think it was last year or even almost 2 years ago. I thought I'm going to bring it up to the living room, and the way that my couch is, it's kind of curved, so I have this like dead space behind the curve of the couch, and I put it up there, and that was the same year we did the last Fit Blog, and the Jump Sport rep was very much like, it's great for kids and you should put it in your house where they watch it. And the kids, at least once every other day, I will catch one of them on the trampoline.
It's amazing still. I mean, I thought mine will be 11 next month, that she would now look at it and kind of roll her eyes in that tween angsty way.
No, my 11-year-old's on it my 11-year-old's on it more than my 5-year-old. And it's actually kind of, having two, it's then when the 11-year-old goes on it, he reminds the 5-year-old that it's there, and then the 5-year-old wants to go on it. Then they're fighting over it. It's classic. It's classic parenting. I'm in the throes of that. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm in that middle ground of parenting when I have these these ages, this 5 and 11, where one is kind of leaving to childhood, one's coming in, and they're both at that same space at the same time.
And I remember that from my own childhood. I would totally forget about something. If you don't know what we're talking about, they're the small, I think that sometimes fitness people call them, I like to think this would be a Jillian Michaels-ism, rebounders, or what do they call them? Like there's a different, I know they call them jump sport trampolines, but they're the little circular.
The personal ones that basically
in your house.
Yes. I used to have a trainer that had me like sprint on them with high knees.
Did you like that? I would not enjoy that.
I didn't think I would, and then I did. I enjoyed it, but it's one of those things you can only do once, and then you're like, okay, I'm done.
No, yes.
I get on there a lot. I don't get on there as much as I used to, but I sometimes enjoy that like feeling of like when you're jumping and you're kind of weightless. I feel like it feels good on my spine. Like, you know what I mean? Like that, like when you're up, there's that feeling of like when you're jumping, and since there's no impact, it just feels very relaxing on your spine. I don't know. It's nice.
And it is a really good, since we're not sponsored by them, home workout that's not all that expensive. I loved when I first got mine, which I've subsequently lost, the DVDs.
Oh yeah. I've never seen their workout DVDs.
Yeah. I like that. They were hard for me, but they aren't overwhelmingly challenging. You could probably make them more difficult if you wanted to, but I really like them. It's a really, yeah.
Well, and Jump Sport sponsored Fit Blogging before. I don't think I would have even been very aware of like personal trampolines as being big business, unless I had that relationship with them through the conference. And like I love having it in my house now. It's like I guess it's kind of like a more fun treadmill.
And I don't think they were very expensive. I want to say they retail for around $100.
$100. I think the one I bought, I actually, even though they sponsor my conference, I actually bought the one that I have, and I think it was like $100, 105, something like that. Yeah, it's not. It's fun.
Don't worry if you don't have a rebounder. We're doing yoga tonight
during the election,
during the debate, if we are watching.
Yes. The yoga that I took this morning was classic vinyasa yoga. too.
Which I
Which
love.
That is my favorite. Definitely.
There's a candlelight one that they do Tuesday nights, which I haven't gone yet, but I keep thinking I would probably fall asleep, and supposedly people do, but I want to check that one out. It's all dark, slow flow with candles.
Nice. So, okay, so I have my own other news in Ronnie land. Let's see. Besides, I started to run more and still keeping up with my yoga. I have been researching how to make my own, well, how do I say this? Like, what I learned is cottage food. So anyway, the cottage food industry, which is basically making
I've
your
never
own.
even heard of that.
I didn't either until I started researching. So we've talked about this before. I feel a little lost in my career, not sure what I'm doing. So I'm kind of consulting when I can, and we're doing the podcast. Blogging's kind of not the same anymore, and probably won't be ever again. So I have this kind of, I like to cook, but sharing recipes is not very lucrative unless get lucky enough to be like, a famous cookbook writer on the New York bestseller list. I don't know how it is I can actually generate income from recipe sharing online besides ad income, which we both know is just a joke. So I thought I'm going to start perfecting recipes and potentially next spring start to sell home goods at farmers markets. So I've been researching.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah, so this is kind of my new venture. Like I've kind of come to the conclusion that I am very entrepreneur at heart, even though I kind of denied myself.
I say that all the time as well, and then I can't help myself from starting yet another thing.
I'm like, and I'm looking at potential jobs and like where the kids' ages they are now and what I'm doing now, and I'm like, going back to a 9-to-5 just doesn't make sense for me right now. It will maybe in like about 5 years, I guess. And I'm supplementing our income enough with all my little activities that I'm doing here and there. So that's good. But I was like, I need that. I want something kind of on my own. So then I was like, so I'm experimenting with like hot sauces and like.
What's the name of this again? Cottage food?
So this is what at least this is what they call it in Maryland. Let me see if I can find it again online. Yeah, it's like basically there's laws that allow you to sell
without a
food
commercial
that you make in your kitchen, and there's all these laws like you have to generate okay, you have to generate less than like 25,000 in revenue. It has to be like non-perishable, things like that. You know what I mean? Things like that. Let's see.
And so you don't feel like you would focus on would you focus on only healthy foods, healthy living? Or are you like, no, this is a totally separate entity for me?
So that's what I like. It's one of my passions is to like make things taste good that are still healthy for you. Or did I say that the opposite way?
No, that's exactly it. Make things taste good that are healthy for you.
Make healthy things taste good, right? So I was like talking my husband's ear off today at lunch. I was like, and you could tell me if I'm crazy, and maybe our readers can tell me if I'm crazy. So I was thinking, especially in the group that I'm in, the circle of people that I'm in, we're all about protein, right? It's protein, because we lift weights, and to build muscle, you need protein.
Yes.
And all the protein products that generally are usually powders or shakes or bars, right? I can't think of anything that's other like touted as like high protein post-workout kind of things, right? So I was thinking, why isn't anybody making a high protein cracker? Because sometimes I just want something crunchy, and all the crunchy things seem to be carb centric, right? Crackers, chips.
Yes, or they're
pretzels.
Super processed, because I buy high protein pretzels and that kind of thing, and they're so processed.
Exactly. So I've been kind of experimenting with like high protein cracker ideas, and I have to say,
you know what I want you to do? Not high protein, beef jerky. You would be so great at that. Different kinds of jerky with a dehydrator.
I had that thought. I need it. I might actually ask for a dehydrator for Christmas just so I can start experimenting. Yeah. So I've been doing like hot sauces, and I don't know if we talked about that because I'm not denying my love of cooking anymore. And I think for a long time, like I feel like that outlet, I appeased that part of me by food blogging, because I was able to like cook things and then share it online. And I got that sense of like getting creative and getting feedback.
Yes.
But I feel like I'm not, that's not like, it's not exciting me anymore. I feel like food blogging is has been taken so far professional that people like me that almost don't want to be professional. There's no room for us anymore because my pictures aren't the best. And I'm not going to do like staging and lighting for my food photos.
And that's not the ultimate goal for you.
That's not exactly. That is not the ultimate goal for me. The ultimate goal for me is to share the idea. Like I always wanted to like share the idea. So then I was like, well, what instead of sharing the idea is I make things that I can actually physically share and say,
okay, jerky, CrossFit, clean and jerk. There's something there.
There's so many things there.
I know. I love the hot sauces. This is perfect for you. In a way, it also dovetails perfectly with wanting to get offline more.
Yeah. So I have not been online as much. So this morning I spent the morning making a batch of high protein crackers.
I love that.
Which is really fun. But I was like, it sounds like, and again, I just got done talking about how you shouldn't mix your passion with but it's fun for me, but in a way that's not, it's not like a stress relief or anything. It's more of like, I don't mind doing it every day and like tweaking the recipe and going, oh, maybe I need a little bit more vanilla. Oh, let me try another batch. Oh, like,
you know what it makes me think of the phrase? For some reason, I don't love this phrase. And then I've said it so much recently to friends who have traditional jobs that I've now decided I want to get a dog and call him this. It makes me think of the phrase, wait for it, side hustle. Like it's not going to be your full-time gig. It would be this is my side hustle and it makes me X amount of dollars.
Right.
Because you still do the client work.
I still do programming and I still do, and why can't I split? Why can't I have 2 part-time gigs?
Yes. I think it's harder to burn out when it's a part-time thing versus I like owning my own training studio. It was all day, every day, 7 days a week, every single day a month. That's when you get burned out.
Yeah. That's how I felt with the conference. It was just all consuming between like January and June. It was just all consuming. It was just it was living and breathing sponsors and logistics and speakers and selling tickets. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I was getting burnt out, but yeah, this would be, and so it's called cottage food. It's called like cottage food laws. So I think every state has their own cottage food laws. So I've been researching Maryland's cottage food laws. And they like have guidelines on what you need, how you need to package them and what information you need on the label. And then, like I said, like there's minimum or maximum revenue that you can bring in. And there's all this, and then there's like a list of things you can't, like they have to be non-perishable, like non-high risk for like food safety. Because basically,
yeah, I could see that jerky being a tough one.
Yeah, the food cottage laws basically protect the home cook, and you're not underneath the same like scrutiny, like for food inspections, and you don't need a commercial kitchen, and you don't need to pay for the same licensees. So there's like, it's kind of fascinating. I was like really reading up on it. I was like, this is a whole nother, like a whole different venture. I think I was getting a little depressed, I think, because I was like, what am I doing with my life? Like classic 40-year-old midlife crisis stuff. And then my husband said to me, he goes, your resume is pretty impressive. And I'm like, is it, or is it just I'm scatterbrained and I can't focus on anything for more than 3 years?
And it's almost like that has become the world. I mean, I look at my younger sister who's worked for the Texas state government for a lot of years, and she's just not the norm. It's like everyone else has this, even if you're just shifting within a company to something totally different, it's like we all keep changing, which I think is good.
Well, and I think you have to be aware, like things just change. Like, I don't think you and I mean, maybe did we predict kind of the downfall of the personal blog? I mean, I think we knew it was coming for a long time, but things just change too. And you have to kind of just go with the.
I think that's the key is you can, and I think a lot of people do this and have always done this throughout history. Things change and they just stand there angry that they've changed and they never move forward. That's what's terrifying to me, because it's shocking to think as a human, you could get totally stuck in your life because no one's going to make you move. So you need to consciously decide,
yes,
like you said, I need something new.
Which is, as cheesy as it sounds, pretty wycwyc in itself. Like, you can't be stagnant. Like, I actually went back and looked, because I did consider, because I taught at a community college for 8 years. Or something. I was assistant professor and I taught their multimedia classes and their web development classes. And I thought, maybe I'll go back and adjunct, because I have experience and they know who I am. So they're always looking for adjuncts. And so I went back and I looked at the schedule and the programs that the college I used to work at and I thought, oh, it's all changed. They don't even have the program I used to teach in, and the classes are now different. And so, I mean, yeah, I could still go back and there's still a handful of classes that I'm qualified to teach. But at the same time, it was a little bit of that reminder of what you just said. Like things just changed. Like even if I was still working there, even if I never left my job as the assistant professor, if I never left the college and never embarked on the conference and blogging and my own thing, my life there would be completely different anyway. Right. Like, yeah. So that was like, I think that was kind of an eye-opening, like, oh yeah, things are constantly changing and not to fight it so much. Yeah.
And that's what they say. I mean, I have a couple elderly aunts that I don't know how they do it. 94, 96, they are they've got their iPads and they FaceTime. And I think that is how you stay young. It's that acknowledgement, everything's changing and show me what's happening here and keeping up with it all.
It's funny that you say that because so the people that I stayed with when I was in New York, now they're late 60s, 66, I don't know, between 65 and 70, say. And sometimes I think I take for granted how technically savvy my mom is, who, she's on Facebook. She dabbles in Instagram. Like and I think and it helps keep her young, So I was showing them, they never heard of Spotify. So I was showing the people I was saying, I was like, oh, Spotify, because the husband of my mom's friend, his 3 kids are all musicians. Isn't that amazing? Like one I think was a music teacher. The other one was like a military band. And the other, like they all basically play music for a living, which I found fascinating. So I was like, oh, Spotify. And they're like, what's Spotify? And so I'm showing them on my phone what Spotify was. And they had a hard time understanding Pandora. And then we started talking about travel. And then I started talking about Airbnb.
Yeah. My parents are like, Airbnb blows their minds.
Yes, it blew their minds. And then I thought to myself, like, when I'm their age, which you probably feel this way, it's not that far off. It doesn't feel that far off. I'm wondering if I'll be one of those people that is staying not on top of, but alongside of.
Well, and it does go with what we talk about in the book about, I may choose the Big Mac, but it's a conscious choice. If I don't want to be the people who get like, wait, what is happening? And it's not a conscious choice. I have older friends who have chosen 75. I do not care. I'm very happy for you. Yes. But so I don't want to get left behind, just like have it suddenly happen and kind of lose touch. But if it's a conscious choice for something like that, I'm okay with it. I don't know which it'll be.
I know what you mean. And actually I think the other, like when I was teaching, one of my office mates was an older woman, and she was, I want to say, at least 20 years older than me. She retired while I was still working there. So let's just put it in that perspective. So, and I was always, she called herself a Luddite, somebody who just didn't come from the technology world, but now is thrust into the technology world. But yet she had this very open mind about it. And I remember actually having conversations and pushing for change inside the department. Like, well, we need to teach these standards because, the industry is changing and we need to, community college has to be on the up and up because a lot of these people are going to come get a degree and go right into the workforce. So you can't teach them a lot of theory. You need to teach them practical things that they're going to, and so I was trying to update the curriculum to match what I knew what was going on in the industry. And I remember the one time where I was basically presenting the changes that I wanted to make in the curriculum. And a lot of the old bucks, all the old computer guys are like, they're still like teaching languages that have long since been retired because they don't want to learn anything new. But she was my advocate. She's like, no, we need to do this. And I thought to myself, yes, that's the woman I want to be. When I'm in my 60s and my 70s, I want to be the one that's got the younger person's back and then says, yes.
I know. And they talk about reverse mentoring. And I didn't really get it. When I started reading about that phrase when I was 30, I thought, it didn't I got it conceptually, but now that I'm 47, I can see heading back to the workplace, I'm 50, I would have there's no ego involved here. If you are 25 and you're in my office and you can help me and be my mentor for some stuff I don't understand, Snapchat, I'm all over it because there are always going to be ways we can give and take. But I think so many people they get defensive and they get embarrassed, and it's more along those lines.
Yeah, I think I would be, my problem is I have this, I would think if I was teamed up with a 20-year-old, I would think we're the same age, and we're not.
I love that. And I'm getting better, but I still have friends that are like 35. I'm like, well, they're about our age. And they're like, dude, you're 12 years older than I am.
Yes. I have a couple friends that are in their like just turned 30s. And I think, and when we're just talking, I feel like we're the same. And then there's certain things that are said that normally pull us apart. And I go, oh yeah, no, I have 10 years. 10 years is a long time.
It's like that meme where I feel like I'm 20 until I go out with a bunch of 20-year-olds. And I'm like, oh yes, I am not 20.
No, I'm not 20. I am not 20 anymore.
Okay. Back to your food thing. Here is something I want to ask you, because I can't decide how I think you will come out on this spectrum. And it's another bizarre. I don't have a subscription. I don't know how I got this to work for me. We'll share the link. And I clicked in easily to the Wall Street Journal for this one too, without a subscription. But it's another one from the WSJ, which I'd never read. And the crux of the article is science and a scientific study from CMU, Carnegie Mellon, that's right by where I grew up, came out in favor of paying your children to eat their fruits and vegetables.
Really?
My first thought before I read the article was, we don't pay for grades, but I am not paying you, because that doesn't create any accountability.
When they say paying for it, do they mean like bribing, basically?
Let me continue a tiny bit. Okay, so what they did is they did it at a school, which I thought was interesting because it also brings in the element of positive peer pressure. They used 8,000 school children, and at lunch, any student who ate one serving, so not a ton, of fruit or vegetable, received a 25-cent token that could be used at the school's store. The researchers saw an immediate spike in consumption, which I do think there's got to be an element of, I'm eating with my 4 best friends and they're all doing it, I'll do it too. So some positive peer pressure. But they are convinced that it helped it become habit. The more often these kids ate fruits and vegetables at school to earn the reward, the more they learned to like them. And they likened it in the article, which I found super interesting as well. One of the scientists says, sharing from his own personal life, that when he offered his son money to practice hitting a baseball, the more the son practiced to get the money, the better he got, and the more he liked playing. So they firmly assert that we pay our kids to eat fruits and vegetables for a little while, and then they start to develop a taste for them, and we withdraw the monetary reward. And it works.
I don't know how I feel about this. This reminds me of so I used to listen to the Freakonomics.
Yeah, I like that.
And they did this. This is what it reminded me. I wonder if it's the same study. Now theirs was from, I looked it up really fast. This is 2 years ago. It's July of 2014. So I don't, I don't know if the same study.
Tuesday it came out, but that doesn't mean, hold on, I can check the study.
Go
ahead, I look at that.
So this one was same thing, I think, and if I remember correctly in the podcast, I can't remember their names right now. The 2 guys in Freakonomics were discussing about how they're trying to get their kids to eat healthier foods and how even bribing them didn't work. And then they brought up this study. And so here, let me read. They actually have an overview of that particular podcast. And it says they tried several methods to see what would make kids choose fruit over a cookie in a school setting. So they were also studying school kids. And one trick they said that easily beat the rest. And they said it works every time. So we can come in 5 times. Every time we have 3 really high rates of selections of fruit. And I think they, again, bribe them by giving them some kind of token or something.
Yes.
To pick the fruit over the cookie. And they would never choose it unless there was that incentive to choose it. They would never choose the fruit unless the incentive was there to choose the fruit, if I remember correctly. So I won't do it.
I am with you. Yes.
I'm not going to argue science. Like if they're doing this study and it's showing, I get it. I understand. But at the same time, it's not my parenting style. I'm more of so the way that we do it in our house, and I would pat myself on the back because I have 2 fairly good eaters. One, my 11-year-old is awesome to go out to eat with because he'll try anything now. And if I only had him, I would think that everything I did was perfect. And it was all my choices as a young mom and how great I was. But really, I'm blessed with the kid who actually likes to try things. And I didn't realize how blessed I was until my second one came along.
Yes.
And then I realized, oh no, my first kid was just a natural trier, and he didn't have texture issues. And
yes. And I wonder if it's our taste buds.
So yeah,
that kind of thing is hard to know.
The kid never met a fruit he didn't like. He always ate his vegetables. I always, there was things he kind of like put up a small argument about, but then I was like, just try it. It'll be fine. And then he would try it and he wouldn't hate it. And so he never had that negative. But I'm not going to, I know now because of my second who hates fruit, doesn't like soft textures, doesn't like, if it's not crunchy or bread-like, he doesn't want to eat it. And he's much pickier and much harder to get to try things. I mean, I ran a whole web series of videos with my first when he was between the ages of 3 and 6, where we would literally try produce live on camera. And he was game. He loved it. He was like, oh, let me try this. And then I would get his reaction. And my whole point of doing that was to kind of inspire people like, look, if this 3-year-old is willing to try these foods, then, stop with your, I hate vegetables and I can't eat healthy, and just try it, just like he's trying it. So and we had so much fun. And I thought when I had my second, we would be able to do them again. Nope, didn't work. He didn't like to try it. He needed to be really coerced. And
so, okay, imagine with him, the bribing. And this is how I think I would have been as a child, because I was so picky. I'm still really plain. I do think it's how we're wired. But maybe if you had bribed me with money, I would have eaten it in that one moment. Maybe. But I would not have continued. If I didn't like it, I wouldn't have started incorporating it regularly into my lunches. I just wouldn't like it. I'm not going to keep eating it.
Yeah, I feel like, and I wouldn't want to set the precedent of the expectation that you get paid for things that you should just do. So that would be,
that's why we don't pay for grades. It's the same thing.
Yeah, we do like, hey, let's go out. Oh, great report card. Let's go out for ice cream. That's about the extent of what we do.
And in the study, which maybe we link that since it's not the Wall Street Journal, I loved that because this would have been me. And I got in so much trouble for this growing up until my mom, I think, gave up, which is why I come back to maybe it's a taste buds thing. The school expressed concern to the researchers that the kids were going to start stuffing the fruits and vegetables in their milk cartons and pretending to eat them.
So they were taking the money and then hiding.
Yes. I mean, it just really complicates. I think this is what makes it science so different from books like ours or other healthy living books, because it's mind, body, what we've written. With scientists, it is not, nothing exists in a vacuum. If the kid thinks, I hate broccoli because the babysitter I could not stand made me eat it once, they're never going to eat the broccoli. It's so much more complicated, as are the repercussions of paying a kid to eat broccoli. It doesn't exist in that narrow vacuum.
Right. Because now you're like, hey, empty the dishwasher. And you're like, what are you going to pay me for it?
Yes. It's like nothing is that. And I think in science, it's super complicated. I am not a scientist, but there's not the emotional baggage in the laboratory that there is in the school cafeteria. I thought it was really interesting.
No, that's a really good point you bring up, because like I said before, like, I'm not going to doubt the science. I have no doubt that, yes, if you take a child and you ask and you offer to pay them to eat better, that they're going to eat better. Like, if that's what the data shows, because I would eat something I don't want to eat if you're going to pay me too. Like, that just makes sense.
Yeah, but I would never eat it again. I think that was the bottom line. I would eat a cricket. Maybe I would love it, but sure, you pay me $100, I'll eat the cricket. But it doesn't mean when I go out to dinner next, I'm going to order a side of crickets.
Exactly. Well, and that's why the example of the baseball, the getting better at baseball doesn't really. I do think there is a level of taste where you learn to like things, but it's not going to happen. It's not the same as practicing a sport or an instrument.
I felt the same way because I thought it's not like there's muscle memory there and I'm getting better. I'm not going to get better at eating Brussels sprouts. It's like not a skill in that same sense.
Yes. Yeah, no, I agree. Although, I mean, there are things like I always told, I think knowledge is, I don't know. I don't hide anything from my kids, not anything important. And I don't, I kind of try to treat them like little adults because I think that there's a lot of power in there. And so I'm very honest with them. So like when my kids say, I don't like mushrooms, I do just try a little bite just from, and I'm not like, you're not leaving this table until you take a bite of the mushroom. I mean, I am sometimes, because sometimes if it's something like, so for example, if my 5-year-old all of a sudden decides he doesn't like chicken, even though he has eaten chicken for the past 5 years,
that one.
Then I'm like, no. You're not leaving the table to eat the chicken because it's chicken and there's no, because I don't like it. I'm like, no. You've eaten it yesterday. It's,
yeah.
I mean, as a parent, you need to, and this is one of those variables that the scientists aren't going to take it. You have to just, you just have to take those things into consideration. But when there's something where I know they don't like it, or if it's something that traditionally kids don't like mushrooms or Brussels sprouts or something like that, then I do the courtesy bite of, hey, you need to try this. I'm not going to force you to eat a whole serving, but give it a try, because you know what? When I was a kid, I didn't like them either. And now I do. And your taste changed, and you might not like it
That
today.
might have been the more interesting scientific study, in the sense of, no, you don't want to spend all this time tracking them, but seeing if you paid them for a span of 2 weeks.
If it affects their later.
Yes, because I will often say to mine when I'm eating something and she's like, it's disgusting. I'm like, I know, I didn't like it when I was your age either. I wonder if tastes change. Yes.
I joke with my 11-year-old all the time. I'm like, I, as a kid, would never eat anything with an onion in it. I don't care if it was cooked. I don't care if it was raw. I don't care if it's not going to happen. And mushrooms, I would pick out. I'd pick out the cooked peppers from the stuffed peppers. I'd only eat the filling. Like, I had all the quirks that kids have. Everybody, everyone has the quirks. Now I will literally caramelize onions and pile them on a steak because I love them so much. And so it's your taste.
So that would have been the more interesting, the long term.
And so I feel like I planted that seed in my kids, and both of them, because now even with the 5-year-old, because we made Brussels sprouts last week actually. And he's never liked them. My oldest had always really, because I always roast them. So they're not like boiled with butter, and they're roasted and crispy and yummy. And my 11-year-old, even as a child, as a younger kid, he never not liked them. But the younger one, never, he doesn't like them.
Yes.
And he now though will eat them without argument. Like, so it was the courtesy bite, another week, a couple months later, courtesy bite. And then now I just started putting it on his plate and they're just gone. So I'm like,
well, and you nailed it with the argument. I think I always look into the future, and I think it drives my husband crazy, but I think, how is this one act with him, friends, her, going to come back to haunt me or impact future interactions? And I think once you do that, paying once, it spirals and impacts future interactions.
I totally agree. That's an interesting article. I totally agree.
I know. I found it super interesting. I didn't think it didn't rub me the wrong way as much as I thought it would from the start, because I thought it brought up a lot of interesting concepts to think about.
Very much so. Okay. Do you have a wycwycker of the week?
I do not.
I have another personal friend wycwycker of the week. Is that okay?
That's great.
I got a text message from, I don't know, friends, probably too close for word. I mean, acquaintance, somebody I knew from the gym. She used to train. She recently had a baby. And she's much younger than me. She's one of those women that I thought was the same age as me, that I realized, oh no, I'm like 15 years older than her. It's fine. But she sent me a text message out of the blue. I don't even think I knew she had my phone number, which was shocking. And this is what she said. And I wanted to read it to you because I think it'll make you feel good. She says, hey, I just finished your book last night, and I just wanted to say it was awesome. And I am now a big believer in wycwyc. Isn't that awesome?
It is, and especially from someone who's an acquaintance and making the time to share. I love that.
I thought that was fabulous. Yes. So it was very awesome that she actually went on and on to say that she had a hard time finding it at her local Barnes and Nobles. And she asked the help desk, and they said, oh, do you know the author? And she said, yes. And they're like, oh, she should come in and do a signing. And I was like, oh, I need more confidence.
I know, it's that revival. My yoga instructor, when she was ending class, said, and I just want to say, I bought Carla's book. Everybody, Carla. I'm like, I'm dying. I'm like the wobbly one.
I'm like, please don't bring it up.
Yes. But it has yes. So that's really sweet.
So I thought that would be a fun to end on. this week's podcast, because it did make me, when I got the text, it was out of the blue. It came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And which was a good reminder of the kind of other side of wycwyc, is that when you do those little things for other people, how much they can really affect someone's day. It's like if you just reach out to someone you haven't talked to in a long time, or it's really nice. It's sweet. It takes no effort.
Yes. Oh, that's a perfect note to end on.
Oh, awesome. All right. So on that, we will end episode 35, and we will be back next week. Wycwyc.
Wycwyc.
All right, we did it.
I need to jump on.